It's called Times to Try the Soul of Man. It is a crime/coming-of-age story published by All Things That Matter Press. And I'd like to share one chapter with you. It's chapter 38, entitled After the Dark. Nausea was the only response my mind had been able to formulate. One huge outpouring from my guts and soul. I watched in revulsion and disbelief, looked down to puke, and refocused my eyes on the horror. Mo had been correct. The next morning, the beauty of New York's fall was violated. I was there despite and because of Mo's admonition. I had never liked being told no, and I was not going to start listening that morning. Besides, there was something in my brain. There's a story. There's got to be a story. Get there and cover the story. Despite fear, the sense of coming danger impelled me towards Lower Manhattan. In the singular, I may be a coward, but when the menace is more general, I don't think about it. At least that morning I didn't. I was up early, grabbing a cup of coffee and a Times from the newsstand near the apartment. I was on the subway by 7:15. Whatever it was, something was driving me toward the financial district, towards Lower Manhattan. It propelled me with the same implacable, unreasoning force that had driven Will and my dash across America. The hot, crowded train, packed with regular commuters, had not deterred me. I crammed my body into the mass of office-dwelling flesh. The subway stank of perfume, aftershave, and deodorant, and me, the last human-smelling person on earth. Deciding to enjoy the relatively fresh air of the city, I got off in the 20s and started walking south. I was still well north of the Trade Center when the first plane hit. I could hear the sound, like the sound of a major car crash, but without the squeal of brakes. At least that is how I remember it. Of course, at the moment, I had no idea what the sound meant. I just figured that I was about to get a story. Deep inside, I was still hoping that even if there was never to be a Pulitzer, I could get discovered, get a job on a real newspaper. I pulled a camera from my jacket pocket, not my good one of those throwaways I carried around just in case, and started to jog toward the sound. I had to weave through the pedestrians. Good New Yorkers, most of them were still going about their business. Crashes were too common to distract them. Later, that September 11th, their lives would be totally affected. For that moment, they were, as they had been every other day, caught in their own individual, frenzied worlds. I pushed and ran as far as I could before pulling up against the building. Winded in the agony of the out-of-condition smoker, I leaned breathless and frustrated against a coarse brick doorway wedged between a bar and a cell phone store. I leaned and panted. Without thought, I stuck a cigarette in my mouth and lit it. 2 drags, and then squashing the butt under my foot, I, half walking, half jogging, and breathing hard, headed toward Lower Manhattan. By the time I reached Houston Street, people were streaming northward, away from danger. Others were moving with equal determination toward the Trade Center, toward the noise. The cacophony of sirens, people, and horns played against my ears. The smells of fire and explosion. I kept moving, driven by some primordial determination, not for safety, nor to help, but to see. Whatever had happened was big. I wanted to be there. I got a glimpse as the second plane crashed. I saw that moment with terror. I saw the flames and the smoke. Streams of people had become torrents. One woman ran by in an evening dress, practically a ball gown, one of her heels broken. Lopsided as she ran, but run she did. I looked after her for a moment and thought of taking her picture. She might be a good shot, maybe a great one. Too late, she was gone. A cry. I turned around and saw the first building crumble, the dust rising in a plume of destruction. Again I moved forward against the human tide, toward the devastation. I moved as if I were in a dream. Everything seemed at once unreal and fantastic, and at the same moment so actual and so horribly concrete. Sirens and horns and more sirens ripped through the morning, tearing at the horror, trying to reassure, to create order. There was no order. There was only the chaos of tragedy. People screamed at one another. Yet there were no voices. Mouths opened and closed in grotesque mime. The wrecking balls banging at the buildings of Alphabet City had been supplemented by the winged wrecking balls of unknown madness and vengeance, banking the heart of the city. I choked on dust and sweated, perhaps from the heat of fires, perhaps from exertion, or perhaps from being so close to hell. My body shook. I wanted to scream, to cry, to pound my fist into something, someone, teetering on the verge of madness. I stopped knowing why I was pressing forward, where I was going, or what I might do. Action took the place of reason. Abruptly, I stopped, caught by a sudden realization. How the hell did Mo know? He knew. He tried to warn me. I slumped against a plate glass window. Behind it were fancy shoes and expensive bags. I was struck by how jumbled life is. Horrifying devastation next to luxurious indulgences. Is Dad okay? Who did this? Who was that Arab guy? Why was Mo following his sister? What the hell did Mo know anyway? Should I call Dad? What the hell do I have to do with this? Did Jose's death? My thoughts went in circles and circles within circles. I knew something terribly important, something terribly dangerous. That much Mo had made clear. I didn't know what it was, and I wasn't sure I wanted to know. Of one thing I was sure. I was in great danger. Greater danger than I had been in right after Jose's murder. I heard Mo's voice insistent in my head, telling me to get away, to get out of New York. Thank you.